Yeah, it's
I do have
that's
some of those
gonna
too.
that'll be cool because I know like the effects like whenever I did the research for the effects of PTSD, um, it gave me different symptoms and things like that that one should recognize or read.
Hey, Captain McClendon, I just want to let you know that, as you can see, the guy's name is Unc. That's Chris Jones. He's a retired Army veteran too.
Okay.
So I just want to give you a feel for who we're talking with. The other ones are not veterans, but I just want to give you that heads up. Also, these are Captain McClendon was the recruiting commander here in Beaumont. He was the commander for the recruiters here in Beaumont. So I just want to give you all that heads up, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you for your service.
Hey, thank you for your service.
I'm not a veteran.
What'd you say?
What about you? I'm a veteran. I worked hard at the Salvation Army.
My son is a veteran, so.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, if anybody in your family serve, you serve with them. So,
I was about to say, what about
so
for real though? I'm dealing with the PTSD in my house every day.
Oh,
100%.
no. Oh, no, really?
I mean,
Yeah,
the
I
spouse
guess
is a PTSD too, far as I'm concerned.
Well, hey, guys, we're back on. I think we are. Are we on? Yes, we are on. Okay, let me clear the stands up here. And let's get us all into Vaughn. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about post-traumatic stress disorder. And tonight, my lead host tonight is going to be Chris Jones. We call him Unc. I have
Good evening, everyone.
Crew member here from the Roundtable crew, Terry Roy. My co-host, Miss LaDonna Sherwood Haley, and our two special guests tonight, Mary Williams and Captain Frank McClendon. Say hello, guys.
How you doing, everyone?
Hi, thank you.
Yes, welcome to Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. We do this every Sunday and Tuesdays right here on all your social media platforms. And I'll introduce you again to Miss LaDonna, and she's going to give you our motto.
Knowledge is Power Podcast Live is a platform to share important information by educating Southeast Texas African American communities with valuable information on health, education, finances, politics, and business. We pride ourselves on keeping our hand on the pulse of this community, letting you know what is going on in and around the Golden Triangle. Tony, where can they find Knowledge is Power Podcast Live?
Knowledge is Power Podcast Live is now on Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, and Google Play. You can also find us on our website at www.knowledgeispowerpodcast.live. February is Black History Month, and we're in our last week of Black History Month. And Knowledge is Power Podcast on Sunday, the 27th at 7 o'clock, will have one of the most in-depth
I agree.
on Black history. More about it, more knowledge about it, more wisdom about it, our rich history, our rich heritage. And our lead host would be Perry Busby. So I want you to join us next Sunday for Black History Month special on Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. I'm Tony Renfro, and I'm going to turn this thing over to my good friend and always good friend from the South End.
The real South End.
The real South End. Right after this 30 seconds intro.
That was cool. quick.
I guess it's not working.
Mm.
Let's see. Let me go back to it again. Let's see what's going on
Try
here.
one more time.
Welcome to Knowledge is Power Podcast Live with your host, Tony Redfro, and my co-hosts, LaDonna Sherwood and Francis Larkins.
Knowledge is Power Podcast Live starts now.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back, everybody. And again, as stated, my name is Christopher Jones. And this evening, in Black History, we're going to be talking about post-traumatic stress disorder. This is our second discussion about it because we definitely wanted to bring post-traumatic stress disorder, I guess, more into the community and let you know how it affects you as well. The last time we had, the first episode on this segment, we had Mary Williams, who gave us a phenomenal display of numbers as well as, post-traumatic stress disorder effects in the military community. So this evening, we're going to actually tie that same information into our regular civilian community. And being military, as well as Mary is, and our other special guest, Frank McClendon, we are veterans. So we know how it affects the veteran community. We just want to relate to you how you can also identify these same signs in your regular community dealing with everyday and regular life. So again, welcome to Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. And I do appreciate Tony for letting us again come back to our community to explain and enlighten them on how post-traumatic stress disorder can affect them in their everyday community, not just military families. Without further ado, if you would, Mary, could you kind of give us a brief synopsis of what we talked about last week for those that weren't here, and then I'll give the floor to Commander McClendon so that he can give us a description of who he is. I'm sorry for my train in the background.
So thank y'all so much. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Absolutely. So last week we talked really about post-traumatic stress disorder in the military community, and also how it affects veterans who have been recently separated from the military, who are been diagnosed now with post-traumatic stress disorder, and how it can relate to families and their families. Also, how do they accept the fact that now they have somebody with that disorder diagnosis? Also, we talked about veteran suicide and how we're losing veterans 22 a day to veteran suicide. And that is a national crisis, not just a state crisis or a local crisis. That is a nationwide crisis right now that we are dealing with, is veteran suicide. 22 a day is 22 too many. So we need to seriously take a look at that nationwide. And also we talked about military sexual trauma victims, victims of military sexual trauma or rape, and how it has affected life in the military, because that does happen. And we lost Vanessa Guillen, who was a Fort Hood soldier who told her story numerous times to higher ranking officials, but it was just swept under the rug. And anyway, she ended up being murdered by her own soldiers that she was with. So these stories need to be told. They don't need to be pushed under the rug. And so that's what we talked about. We talked about what the definition of a veteran was. So many different things about our military. And how post-traumatic stress disorder can affect our lives.
Awesome. Thanks for the brief rundown, Mary, on last week. Mr. McClendon, would you mind introducing yourself for being on the podcast with us this evening?
I sure will. First of all, I want to thank everyone for letting me be a part of this distinguished and very important panel right there. So it's an honor and a privilege for me to be a part of this right there. My name is Captain Retired Frank C. McClendon III. I spent 30 years, right at short of 30 years in the military. Spent about 17 enlisted, and the rest as an officer. I was the commander of the Beaumont Recruiting Company. I covered from like East Houston all the way to the Louisiana border for recruiting several years ago. So I know the area. I got involved in the community. I was involved with Hurricane Harvey myself. So it's just an honor and privilege to be here today. And the PTSD, suicides, in and out of the military is very important. I mean, just this past week, I lost one of my neighbors that was suffering from PTSD. So, I mean, it's the signs and stuff like that, being able to get the knowledge out. Like I said, knowledge is power. So being able to expose people to the symptoms and options that you have as a veteran and not as a veteran, as a regular civilian to deal with this PTSD is we have to get the word out. So I'm just happy to be a part of this thing, and anything that I can contribute to it, I'm here.
And I'm super excited about this show tonight as for spouses who may be able to kind of help the person with the post-traumatic fear. I know we're going to go through some coping mechanisms, but also to maybe recognize when they need that help that maybe they don't think that they need. Maybe if we can have, as a spouse of a veteran, and maybe just them kind of identify with that.
I totally agree. And that's what we're actually looking forward to doing tonight. Is, like I said, tying in post-traumatic stress disorder into our everyday life, and ways that we can recognize, that we may be, you as an individual may be dealing with some trauma, and we know how cliche it is for us, most of us in the African American community, to accept the need for therapy. So we're going to touch on that too this evening. One of the questions that I got from our community, and when I say our community, most of the people I asked these questions were or I received these questions were from our diaspora. Um, so they wanted to know, what is post-traumatic stress disorder? Is it, what is it? And can military people, aren't military people the only ones that get it? So Mary and Commander both, Sar and Commander both have stated that, our military community aren't the only ones that deal with trauma, and that's what the T in post-traumatic stress disorder is trauma. We know that we're not the only community that deals with trauma. So it says, from the Mayo Clinic, and most information you'll get, especially research information, comes from mental health clinics and different things like that, because PTSD is said to be a mental health condition that's triggered by a terrifying event, an accident, you know, the the unwilling loss of your, I guess, privacy and security, and innocence, that can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder. It says some of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. um, it says symptoms may start within 1 month of a traumatic event or episode, but sometimes symptoms may not appear until years after the event. These symptoms cause significant problems in social or work situations and or in relationships. It says they can also interfere with your ability to go about your normal day. Um, so just rubbing on the surface of post traumatic stress disorder. I don't want you to get it misconstrued. And like LaDonna said, we definitely want our viewers and listeners to know, um, the difference between post traumatic stress disorder and other mental health issues. As stated in the beginning, post traumatic stress is a mental health condition, and many in the African American community um, deal with several different types of mental health conditions. Um, so I don't want anybody to say, "Oh Lord, I got post traumatic stress disorder," unless you're properly diagnosed. So don't go to the websites to diagnose yourself. Please get it professionally done. Um, Anybody have anything or any questions as far as like anything that's been said so far? Uh, I don't see any in the comment section, but I do see somebody in the private chat asking Tony to turn off the music. That's
What is
playing
it?
in
I
the
missed that.
background.
I was collecting on something.
Yeah.
I can't hear it.
Oh, okay. I hear it. It's like a bump, 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 bump,
Okay, let me see if
bump,
I can get
bump,
behind.
bump, bump. Yeah. It's sort of kind of like a feature you got turned on or something.
Like this?
Yeah, it's getting louder now.
Okay. All right, got it. Thanks, God.
Most definitely. Um, so, without any questions about what post-traumatic stress disorder is, I'm gonna switch over to depression, so that we can identify the differences, which is it's a fine line, ladies and gentlemen, especially like from the research that I've done since Tony asked me to head up the show, but. Um, I want you to understand that there is a huge difference between post traumatic stress disorder and depression. This website I'm using for reference is WebMD. Is PTSD depression? Is it PTSD depression or both? And the reason I went to that and that topic stood out to me because it says are both, and it gives identity to post traumatic stress disorder. It gives identity to depression, and it ties it in, saying that it could both of them can affect an individual. So everybody gets the blues every now and again. Everybody gets to feeling sad. So that's depression. Um, m- Most of the times you may get shell shock tied to post traumatic stress disorder. That's what the black community know it as, is being shell shocked. Or so even people that we see looking erratic or seeming erratic on some of the street corners, um, they are dealing with post traumatic stress disorder. And um, we want you to know that depression can lead to anxiety and stress, as well as post traumatic stress, and the inevitable where some individuals lead to is suicide. As Mary stated, um, suicide is uh, very high in the veterans community, but in the civilians population, it is extremely high because uh, doctors are trying to find out if it was something post traumatic that had an individual to kill themselves, and or the lack of access to mental health and or mental therapy to properly diagnose the individual situation that caused them to I guess like commit suicide. So we definitely want to point out the effects of PTSD. So before we go there, are there any questions from our listeners or our panel on this evening, or a
I had
statement actually?
I had a statement. A lot. I was wondering if, like, before you joined the military, do you think that it's something that's happened to you before you joined the military, or do you think it's strictly from military experience that you had?
I
I think
believe
Captain Frank
most.
McClendon could answer that one really good since he was a recruiter and he could see the basic trainees that are
I
going
totally
into the
agree.
Army.
I totally
I think
agree.
Captain McClendon would be a good person to answer that. Not saying
Commander.
you're not, but I just think that
Yeah,
he would, since
most deaf,
he
because
did it from the recruiting
Uh,
right
standpoint when he
from his
saw
point
that
of view.
soldier coming in.
Right, right.
I would say it's both. I mean, sometimes you have people that go through things, to tragedies, losses, molestations, different shootings and stuff as kids, and then when you join the military, sometimes that can add on to it or it can trigger it. And then you got some people that, some of these kids coming in are 18, 19 years old and they experience combat for the first time. And then that can trigger something like that. So I say it's both. It just depends on, your situation and your background. We got a lot of people. I had one recruit that came right off the street, running from a gang, gang infested areas and stuff like that, and just wanted to get away. I want to sign up for the military and get away. And then you go to a deployment and you see some of the same things that you see back home, I've seen back home, and that can trigger something like that. So I would say both. If,
I too would say both, because Commander said, most of the things that we went through and considered to be, I guess, minute in childhood and or young adulthood, we may go through something um, in the military or in college even that may
mm-hmm,
trigger something that that happened to us, whether it was somebody grabbed my shoulder the wrong way, and it may trigger a remembrance,
mm-hmm,
and which is what PTSD is. It is the remembering and the reliving of that trauma over and over and over again. Whether you're sleeping, whether you're out walking. Sometimes you could have a small just flashback or flash out of an episode or an issue. And, so there's a lot of different triggers, but I do believe that, most of the times when put into a different situation, um, some of those things can exacerbate that trauma, and make it, I guess, make it explode, so to speak, make you as the individual come to a point to where you feel you can't handle and or juggle certain things in life. So I do agree. I think it is both. Um, it comes with, just pushing that particular button that you had, rejection from your father as a kid. That's considered traumatic for some individuals. And like Commander said, you may slap me, and I may turn the other cheek. But you slap Commander, you might get the mess beat out of you. And so you have to be able to um, know that people deal with trauma the same way. You know what I'm saying? So um, yeah, I say it's both. I say it's both.
Yeah, because I've noticed that I've worked with a few of them, and a lot of times they'll try to adjust to society, and they'll hide the uh, the disorder. But I can
mm-hmm.
always tell because it's a lot of different mood swings that they have, and it's small things that used to trigger them. But they have to try to hide it because they want to exist in society and make a living.
Correct.
So
Correct.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Correct. And that's why on the last show, when we were talking about it, I said that most people, they bury themselves in a career. They bury themselves in their work. They bury themselves in drugs, and or other outlets, or things that they feel is an outlet, that numbs their their psyche on that particular traumatic issue. So that you know it's hard to I guess like diagnose post traumatic stress just by me and you talking, or like me seeing you at the doctor or something of that nature. You being at home, you always crying and different things like that. That again, depression can lead to, anxiety can lead to, complex post traumatic stress disorder can lead to. Uh, Traumatic PTSD. So I guess the medical community has considered PTSD to be the, I guess, like the eye of the pyramid in mental health. So in so and if you can remember how the pyramid goes down, the food groups, it goes like from A to Z. So post traumatic stress disorder is like your main, the main top tier, and everything else leads to post traumatic stress disorder, and that's what I'm getting from my recent research, as well as looking at a lot of the medical research that's been put out. Uh, any other comments, discussion?
Um, what there's a thin line between coping and codependency. And so what role how do we address the codependency aspect into trying to help provide that care? Because a lot of times the caretaker will sort of mask that just as a coping mechanism. So how do we even begin to address that aspect?
What was the
I
question again? I couldn't hear him, Chris.
what would be the ways that we cope, or that we could explain to the community of ways of coping with post traumatic stress disorder?
And now
Um,
I was gonna kind of ask a similar question, like when people have flashbacks or breakouts, like is there things that we should be able to say to help them come back, or there medicines that help soothe, or I mean, like, is it a way, like kind of like what he's saying, coping, not just coping, but ways to maybe help or alleviate or bring you back, or whatever the case
Well,
may be, from the where you might go to.
okay, well, no, let me clarify if you didn't hear. I was saying there's a thin line between coping and codependency. And so what
Mhm.
role does the codependency help? Because that sometimes can be a barrier in it of itself. So how do we begin to address, that tight line, for codependency? Because, you have someone who is hurting and then your feelings gets in the way of the care that you're trying to provide.
Me personally, I would definitely leave that to one of that profession. Um, and the reason I say that is because, just like you said, you may be on the phone with me, uh, Perry, saying I'm ready, and I know it's never gonna happen, but I'm ready to commit suicide. Me being the person that I am, I have, and excuse my expression, I don't really have um, empathy for that, uh, because I know that there's avenues for help. Um, so like I know individuals that that's dealing with certain traumas or dealing with certain mental health issues, and their coping is drugs, or their coping is burying themselves, like I said, in work. Um, Sometimes when they do go to mental health, or when they do seek mental health therapy, um, that's one of the things that they tell you: find a niche that you are good at, that would help you not just cope with this particular traumatic issue, but also help you progress beyond it. And a lot of people believe, especially if you're dealing with it, and never receiving help or resolve, you're gonna always feel you're trapped. So one of the main things I would say is first seek help. You remember the commercial back in the day? If you can't get help, then try to please help get help somewhere, and that is a real statement because of the cliche stigma that you know I'm not crazy or I'm not gonna let somebody pump me full of psych meds or that's most of the times that's not even the case. Sometimes individuals just need an outside voice of who they want of how they're feeling or an outside perspective of how they're feeling. And most of the times whenever I want to talk to Terry, I'm not gonna come full out to Terry compared to what I may say to Commander. Because me and Terry got a bond, whereas Commander I see him every now and again. You know what I'm saying? So those types of relationships, or some of the relationships I know that individuals around me, as well as myself, in my transition from military to back to civilian, I had to do. I had to find individuals that were dealing with my ailment, because I have an ailment that's considered to be degenerative. So I'm gonna live with it for the rest of my life. But I had to find other individuals that were living with either the same type of complex regional pain syndrome and or something like it, fibromyalgia, restless leg syndrome. These all these individuals dealt with some of the same that I had to deal with because it's an adjustment phase. And if you're not, I guess if you're not really ready to make that adjustment, you will show signs of trauma by cutting yourself, by lashing out, by beating up on somebody, by bullying somebody, just lying for no reason. I mean, like, and those are signs of trauma. So, um, like Ladonna asked, what are some of the signs and symptoms that we could say, hey, you might want to get checked because you have some of the symptoms, signs and symptoms, and you may be exemplary to,
Wait a minute,
post
wait a
traumatic
minute.
stress
Did you
disorder.
say lie? Just lying for no reason. Wait a minute. Is that one of the symptoms? Hold up, I gotta make a little joke right there. What you mean to tell me, boy? I'm gonna have to get a bunch of people checked.
Yeah, most of the times, some people, and like Perry said, it's a coping mechanism. Y'all have to understand it's a coping. So they'll lie. Like you'll look at me. Some people will look at me in my face and be like, "Chris, you all right?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm all right." Now I just told you I have a nerve disease on my entire left side, but I'm gonna tell you, yeah, I'm all right. I hurt 365 days. When it's lightning and thunder, and I hurt even worse. But yeah, I'm all right. So you know what I'm saying? The lie, the magnitude of the lie does it is not what what it is. It's how we that may be dealing with particulars or certain traumas hide the effects of that trauma.
But also, there are support groups out there too, um, that will help you. If you need to reach out to somebody, we have support groups here, in not just at the VA, but just local resources like the Military
Right.
Veteran Peer Network that I used to do. We don't have that anymore because of funding, but it was so vital, at that time. And we have the Vet Center here in Beaumont that also does support groups. But not only that, and Captain McClendon can, I'm sure, attest to this, and let me know if it's true or not. But when we got out the military, it was like we hit a brick wall. We didn't know which way to go. We were dealing with all of these things that had happened to us in the military. Nobody seemed to understand who we were, what we came from. I know my parents, they had no clue what to do with me, and I didn't even know which way to turn as far as getting a job. And those are the things that veterans, myself, and I know Captain McClendon, have to deal with that. We just recently, I mean, it's been 10 years now since I got out, but like Captain McClendon, he just recently retired. So what are these things that we're going to do now? Where can we go from here? And that's when you start getting into people's minds. That's when they start going crazy on us because they don't know which way to go. They don't know who to call.
Right. Right.
One thing I think too is panels like this to put out to educate people more, to give them more resources, people to identify something to help them get to the resources. I'll tell you a quick story. Had one of my neighbors had got out because of PTSD. He experienced a lot of bad stuff in the military. He gets out, adds on to it. His son commits suicide. So now he's got everything bottled up. He's moving to alcohol. He's domestic violence stuff is a big piece right here, and he didn't have an outlet when first time I met this guy, then we started talking, and he started understanding that, man, we got similar stories. Man, there's somebody else that's going through some of the same things that I'm going through. And when he first realized that there was an outlet there's somebody that I can talk to, I can vent to, get some help to get me to some help. You can see him come alive. You can see them come alive. And I think that's what we need to do. Train more people, get more education out there so people can identify these individuals and then be able to point them in the right direction to get some help. Because like I said, you hit that wall, you get out, you feel like you don't have anything else. So you're going to go to those drugs, those alcohol and those bad things to help you numb something to take you out of that place right there. Because education is, like I said, knowledge is power. You got to get to somebody that knows what's going on.
I have another I'm sorry, Perry. Question, should like family members or spouses be I mean, like, I guess I'm also concerned about the family for these veterans when they I mean, like, I mean, what do they need to be, I guess, not just the person with the PTSD, but do they need to be aware or
100%.
trained or
100%.
some kind of, I don't know, skills to adapt to or be able to intervene, or I mean, I don't know what the words I'm looking for, to like help out in some situations. Do they need to be trained and go to some type of meetings to, or maybe, I don't know if they have meetings for the family members to kind of help them along with the process or whatever?
Yeah, I would say yes. Just for me, I'm pretty sure everybody else can chime in. Yes, part of a lot of the process right here is involving the family, involving the kids, involving the spouse. So they because you're in there together. Just like I said before, when we first were talking, if you're in the military, you're outside the military, you want your traumatic experience with the whole family goes through it. It's not just that
Correct.
person right there, because everybody's affected, all the way down to the children. That's why kids see something that they don't get counseling, and then they become adults, and then they repeat that what they see. Everybody needs counseling, and there are definitely groups and stuff like that cover the whole family, not just that individual. Yes.
I too would say yes. I know MHMR um, gives therapy to the entire family. Are they not doing it anymore?
No, we've lost our funding for the Military Veteran Peer Network.
Okay.
We no longer are able to do that. Spindletop really disappointed me, to be honest, Chris, and I hate to put them out like
Okay.
that, but I will, because
Yeah.
they did not
So
turn in the funding that we needed properly and in the time frame. So we can't offer that service anymore. Captain McClendon can tell you, he used to come to our monthly meetings that we had, and they were they were so great, and they were so
Mm.
helpful to the military community here locally. We did amazing things with that,
so
but
with that
it is
being
what it is.
said, Ladonna, with that being said, what Mary just told me, and I do apologize for not being aware of that, but that decreases our mental health outreach in this community. I mean, it was already minute um, to begin with, but that decreases the outreach even more. Um, I know that group, the veterans peer group, and it was also another mental health organization that was through Baptist Hospital. I'm not sure if they if they still have that, because again, like, it wasn't many people that were participating. So if
Well, I know
uh,
one thing.
you
My
give me some
husband,
time, I can reach out to the director and see if they still have that program there. But
yeah, because let me
because
tell you,
like
the
you said,
families of
go ahead.
PTSD people are, honey, I need to look, and I'm not trying to be funny, but sometimes you don't know what's going on, and if you could maybe get some meeting or somebody to kind of guide
Mm.
the family through
Insight.
it. That may help
Yeah,
them to better understand what's happening. Because I
yeah,
mean, when you say PTSD, and then some of these people they're veterans and they don't want to talk about it, and you don't know what that means, and you don't know. I'm glad we're doing this. You don't know what that means. You don't
Hmm.
know what's happened. You don't know what's
yeah,
going on. You don't even know how to respond, and you like, what is happening here?
yeah.
Yep.
I wanna make a point to a question that or a statement that was made in the from the Facebook Cheryl Richardson Jackson. She said PTSD is also in our children due to living in violent households or neighborhoods. And
100%.
I'm glad she mentioned that because the CDC says, and this comes from my research. CDC says all children may experience very stressful events that affect how they think and feel. Most of the time, children recover quickly and well. However, sometimes children who experience severe stress, such as from an injury, from the death or threatened death of a close family member or friend, or from violence, will be affected long term. So, that goes to say that yes, children, as mentioned from veterans families, that the entire family and not just the ones we live with have to deal with, the effects of a post-traumatic stress disorder. It's friends, it's other battle buddies. Sometimes we stay connected with our lieutenant commanders and other commanders just so that we'll have that hold on to uh, for some sanity. Um, yeah, it's platforms like these, LaDonna. It's questions like ours that we have. It's statements like ours that we bring back to our community to let them know it's okay to say that I'm not okay with accepting the way you do or did this, and me having to, I guess, like find the aid or the band-aid or the salve or the medicine that's needed for me to be able to cope and progress through society. I remember Perry had something to say. Go ahead, brother.
No, well, no, I was saying that uh, it really helps, not just on the family side, but as a friend, someone who's welcoming someone back. I think often our zeal to do one to get things back to normal or whatever that normal place was become sometimes unreachable, as well as just being sometimes inquisitive and wanting to know, and not knowing that all of those questions are now being triggers because I'm asking some of your pain. And so how do we as a community just embrace and kind of understand that this is a process? Because I think we always are trying to hurry up and welcome them home and make it feel like things are like it was, and none of those things are true.
Correct. Correct. Especially like Mary said, especially when we transition from service member to civilian back to civilian, and like she said, we hit a brick wall. It's hard to find a job. It's hard to find things that brings us at least back to the quality of lifestyle we were living while we were in service, and understanding that I don't know, a lot of people believe that as military individuals you make so much money, but I mean, like, if you don't have rank, you don't really you don't really have money. So like once you come home and you didn't have, like, say for instance you a private first class, you come home from 24-hour pay to now I gotta go hustle and bustle. Hopefully I'm able to find me a job, let alone um, deal with the what however I was put out of the military, whether I was chaptered or ETA, did my 4 years or whatever. Um, yeah, so like we have to deal with that transition. Same goes for college students. College students got to deal with the post traumatic stress as well. The transition from
Hmm.
the college life, the loans, the not finding that career, not going in that direction, not meeting that goal that I set for myself at XYZ year, that brings on about a lot of stresses. And once you can't deal with those stresses, that failure, and this is from the Insider website, it says that failure repeats over and over, or that traumatic episode repeats over and over and over, and it begins with repeated trauma. So you replaying that over and over. It's not always schizophrenia. It's not always bipolar. Those things lead to not being. I will say the chemical imbalances for sure leads to bipolar disorder. So again, you can't just say, "Oh, she bipolar," and you may not know what her trauma is. You can't say that she's postpartum and you don't really know what her trauma is. Although postpartum is a real mental health situation that not only women go through but men as well. So we have to. This brings the I guess this opens the umbrella of mental health in the African American
Hmm.
community, because all of this post traumatic stress disorder, um, stress, high blood pressure, stroke, heart attack, all of these are signs of mental health, or even binge eating is a sign of mental health, and a coping mechanism, like Perry mentioned, for some people that may be dealing with trauma and or rejection. Any questions or comments?
But also that leads into a perfect segue, Chris, what you were saying about not being able to find a job. Where do I turn to if I'm just a private first class? Getting out the army, I just did what 3 years or whatever, and I didn't make rank or whatever. You got to get out now. Now you have to hustle. What happens? You turn to a life of crime. that's
Correct.
that's where we're going down. Let's go down that road because we haven't talked about. We do have veterans who are incarcerated right now in Jefferson County and also in Huntsville, Houston, Harris County, all of those areas. We have a large population of veterans right here at the Styles unit in Beaumont, at the federal prison also in Beaumont. We have veterans who um, who who need help, who need treatment. Maybe there wasn't somebody there for them when they got out. We have
And
to
like
not
you
forget
said,
about our brothers and sisters who are veterans who are incarcerated. But there was a reason why they committed those crimes to be incarcerated.
right, right. I totally agree. And like you said, most of the times, especially for a veteran that was not, I guess, like able to, because most people that went to the military go to the military to provide a need or to meet a need back home, not for themselves, but to meet a need back home. So that's stress. That's stress number one that's on my shoulders. Um, Stress number two is I'm not able to readily see individuals, people pass, and I'm not able to be there. Um, so that's another stress. Like Mary said, I may not get that promotion that I expected. I may not be able to go to, or I
Hmm.
probably failed the class, or I didn't push myself hard enough in PT. And again, that's a mental thing, pushing yourself. So I may not be able to, get to this particular. Uh, I can't do 200 push-ups, so my physical fitness, I didn't pass that. It's so much, especially in order to excel in the military, especially if you have a goal in the military. I'm gonna do my 40 years, and then I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna have a nice fat retirement. Not necessarily so for everybody that do 20 years. So you have to be mindful of not just um how much
And
weight
even
you
Captain
put on
McClendon
you.
can attest to this, Chris. When he would see veterans leave out, I'm sure because you probably as a commander, you saw people that would get chaptered out. Maybe they don't know what to do next. Where do they go?
Right,
They didn't
right,
make that. They didn't make that rank like you talked about, Chris, earlier.
right,
A
right.
Hmm.
captain of
Or they
you saw
made it,
that as
they
a
can't
commander.
keep it. Yeah, like you said, it's a bunch of
100%.
people. soldiers that are or military personnel that I know that
Speaking,
were chaptered out, and they did uh 10 plus years, and they were chaptered out. You know, especially like
Hmm.
unhonorable discharge. It's hard for anybody to go work at a basic McDonald's. So
right. Speaking of rank, what is the breakdown? Is there a breakdown of PTSD by rank? I mean, is it more prevalent among lower rank or you know?
well, as far as that's the stats on uh the effects of PTSD by rank, I can't give you that. Mary probably could, but I don't think they go into it that deep. I think they're just dealing with surface based PTSD.
Right.
Now,
Right.
identify
It doesn't really have, yeah, PTSD doesn't discriminate. It
Right.
right,
doesn't,
right,
it can happen at any rank. Look at Captain McClendon. He was enlisted, like he said, for 17 years and then went on to do another, 15 plus years as an officer, which is, you got to give that a commend him for that service. That's unheard of, to be go from enlisted then to an officer then to a commander. That right there, I mean, I salute him. I mean, that is just amazing.
Appreciate it.
And
No.
Appreciate that.
so PTSD doesn't discriminate. It doesn't.
right.
Yeah.
I
No.
totally agree.
Well, I wasn't asking it in terms of that, but just in terms of those who seek, because I guess if you are high rank, you understand the need and maybe as opposed to a lower rank. And again, I'm just throwing out a
Yeah,
hypothesis.
and I
Yeah,
see.
a lower
I
rank
think I
may not
understand
even
what.
seek that rank, and yet
Right.
they are the ones who,
Right. I think
yeah,
I get what you're getting at, Perry. Especially like identifying the causes. You know what I'm saying? Those that are affected, the more that are affected, whether it's the E1 or the warrant officer,
right, yeah,
and basing it on whether or not it's the responsibility that's put on that particular soldier and rank and or that particular officer and rank. So I mean, like I understand that portion. I guess
mhm,
how to identify who's affected the most. I can understand where that question would come from, but again, like I don't think they're running that deep of a study in the military, and if they are, they haven't disclosed anything to
right.
the public.
That's a really interesting question. And actually, I'm gonna do some research myself now. You prompted me. I wrote some notes down on that one to actually see that. But I would
Right.
tell you this though, you got to think. Even if I was a high-ranking officer, if I was a general, or and I'm going through PTSD and I hide it and stuff like that, how do I expect my soldiers under my command to
Right.
get
Right.
help if
Right.
I don't do it myself? So
Yeah.
therefore, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I see in the on the side it says Cheryl Richardson Jackson asks, where do veterans go to seek help? Mary and Commander, if y'all don't mind answering those questions for her.
So we
She's
do have a
actually asking
veterans
where
crisis.
do veterans go for help.
So we do have
I'm
a
assuming
veterans
mental health.
We do have the Veterans Crisis Line. It is 1-800-273-8255, and then you press option 1. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255, and press option 1. It is manned 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So there is always somebody on the other end, and no, it is not a robot.
Commander.
Yeah, she did that. I'll just say, you know, first you start out with veterans friends. That's why we doing these forums right here, so everybody is trained. Everybody knows the outlet. Everybody knows where I can go. And but like I said, the VA, any kind of regular hospital right there. If you just go into a clinic right there and you get diagnosed, they can get you to some kind of help. But you had to ask. Back in the day, you were looked as weak. Looking for help right there. You're not. You're opposite. You're very strong right there, and we have to get the word out to let people know that you're not, and seek the help. Please seek the help.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah, because I know that
absolutely.
the company I work for, we deal with veterans as far as medical and medical equipment and things like that. And a lot of them are suffering more from embarrassment because
Mm-hmm.
they feel like less of a man when they come back from the
One
service
hundred
and they
percent.
can't take care of their families. And I think
One
that
hundred
has a
percent.
lot to do with the depression part of it. It's more the embarrassment
Yeah,
to where
yeah.
you can't
Mm-hmm.
get your basic needs or what you need, and
Right.
you
One
have
hundred
to go
percent.
and beg. You got to go beg for what you need,
Yeah.
and
And
it
that
should
that
never be that way.
right, and
Mm-hmm.
that goes on, and I'm glad Cheryl Richardson made the statement about children because as a volunteer in public schools, I see some of the same behaviors.
Yep.
One of the programs that state PTA offers is called Colors, and you're able to identify individual characteristics by colors, and it's a very good tool to use, I guess, just just in your community. But it also helps individuals identify those types of learning characteristics, as well as you're able to not pinpoint a particular trauma, but you're able to identify that that student is showing signs of some type of trauma. So there's all different types of ways that we can identify um, individuals that may be dealing with mental health issues, as well as recommend, like Commander and Mary said, recommend you know your local hospitals. I know Baptist Hospital as well as St. Elizabeth. I know if you go to um, the for veterans, you can go to the VA outpatient clinic. They will definitely transfer you to the Houston Michael E. DeBakey. Um, there is, I know, there's the mental health hospital in Rice, Texas. I don't know how familiar civilians are about the Rice Institute, but yeah, there's a few outlets I know for sure over the phone that you can call. The suicide hotline is one of them. There is also a few hotlines that just basic abuse hotlines that will give you other resources for mental health and post traumatic stress disorder.
'Cause I notice when we go into these homes, the homes that go in from with military people, you can automatically sense when they have PTSD. It's just something about the atmosphere of the home, but the kids, the wife, or whoever, it's just an instant click. You know that something is wrong.
Hey
I
guys, have
agree.
you did you notice that one of the comments on with Damian Bennett, it says the separation training needs to be restructured. The military branches need to address these concerns before separation. PTSD does not see color, rank, MSO, or whatever.
100%.
MOA. Yeah, that I totally agree. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. It does not
So
see color.
Damien Bennett was is a veteran, also an Army veteran, recently retired.
Sure.
He was supposed to be on the show tonight, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. But they do have a veteran organization. It's called Veterans to Veterans. That he is the president of this chapter. So I
V
just
for
want to
V.
give him a shout out real quick. So who he is.
That's, I salute you, sir, for that.
Great, great, great.
Absolutely, Dan.
Also, she says the system is set up for failure. There are plenty of resources in the community, like the Vivo V.
V for V.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this: there are a lot of resources, but those resources are not accessible to or readily accessible to Jefferson County. Majority of mental health individuals have to travel outside of this county, outside of the entire county area, to get proper treatment. That mental health in the medical field is almost an untapped market when it comes to Beaumont, Texas. And you could even look at the very few amount of doctors that we have in the arsenal of the hospitals here in Beaumont or in Jefferson County alone. So I will say the resources are there. They're just not here readily accessible in Jefferson County. And I encourage anybody who's going to TSU, Grambling State, anywhere for mental health in the medical profession, please come back home because these clinics, Sprott Clinic is about to sell. It's needed here. It's very much so needed, not just in the African American community, but within the community as a whole.
Great show, guys. Post
I have one
traumatic
more,
stress
one more,
disorder.
one more, sir,
One more? Okay, I'm
if you don't
sorry.
mind. The last bit of information we definitely want to give is post traumatic slave syndrome. And I know a lot of people say that sounds very cliche, but theoretically it is real. It says June. It says post traumatic slave syndrome, a term coined by internationally renowned researcher Joy DeGray, PhD, to describe the multi generational trauma and injustices experienced by African Americans and those alike from the dawn of slavery to the recent deaths of Black citizens at the hands of police. PTSS has similarities to more widely known diagnoses of post traumatic stress disorder. They include avoiding certain places, people, or activities and events that may remind the individual of the trauma or experience, difficulty concentrating, feeling jumpy or being easily angered, appearing emotionally numb, also called vacant esteem. This includes feelings of hopelessness, depression, and a general destructive outlook. So, PTSS, we said on the last show, post traumatic slave disorder. I had to go look it up because when we said it, we sort of kind of laughed. But it is definitely clinically proven that there is post traumatic slave syndrome, which, as I read, are the effects that I give it. So, outside of that, um, I will say thank you, Tony, for allowing us again to shed light on this particular issue, and not just an issue, but something that plagues our community, and most people find it cliche to speak about. Um, so again, I definitely thank you for giving us the opportunity.
You're welcome. And anytime you guys, we're going to bring you back. We're going to have this discussion every quarterly, so we can keep the veterans abreast of what's going on in their community and our community as well. Because it is very serious. Because I know one of the comments is about separation is dysfunction, and it's got to be a way to how can I put it in words to say to make this restructure it so that it can be functional. In the last word, guys, before we end our segment of PTSD, before we go, I like to announce
I
that
just want to give a
Sunday.
shout out to Captain Frank McClendon real quick. He came in on this and helped us out, really understand about
Uh,
recruiters and how it is. So I really appreciate him coming on tonight. He
I
does
really do
live in
too.
Florida
Thanks.
now,
Thank
so
you.
um, we do
it's an honor
appreciate
and
him
pleasure.
coming.
It's an honor and
We hope
pleasure.
you
You
come back,
call me, I will
Captain.
be there.
All right, guys, we're gonna try. We want
Thank
to
you
do
so
this every
much.
quarterly, and so Mary and I will get together on a date so that we can have everybody ready and prepare for that date. But so if we're doing it here in February, we're going to be doing it again in May, right? April, March, April, May. Let's say yeah, June, May, June, first of June. Okay. Let's do this. Something else I want
I want
to.
to say something, Tony.
Sure, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Early voting is still going on. Voter
Yes,
turnout is
indeed.
low. I am the queen of get out the vote. Tomorrow polls will be closed. Do not go to the voting polls tomorrow. Listen to me real good. The voting polls will be closed. They are open Tuesday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It is your civic duty. It is your right. It is your power. Get up, go vote, show up every election, every time. It is
There is
your
150 registered voters right here in Jefferson County. Can one of you all give me a number? How many has voted in here?
8865,
And what
it's
percentage
terrible.
that is?
5%.
5.7%.
That's
Yes.
that's horrible.
It's
That's
terrible.
that's
And
For
you
a
know,
brutal.
I
county that is
said
extremely horrible.
That's brutal. That's brutal.
I am very disheartened, and I just want to do anything that I can to just I don't even know what I want to do to encourage you, to implore you, to impress upon you. I just don't even know. Go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. You cannot allow 10% or less than 10% of the population or registered voters in a community to determine the laws and the outcomes and the interpreters
Of
and the
the
judges and
populace. I totally agree.
the BA and the this and the that and the this and the that. And then you're gonna be the first one on the news carrying on the fool about what you don't like and what you don't want and what you can't accept and what you don't want to take. But I can't get you to go to the polls. So I'm not gonna go because I know the show is over. But baby, I can go on and on and on.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Come Sunday, the 28th, go out and vote, people. Come Sunday, the 27th, the last Sunday in this month. That is next Sunday. We're gonna finish complete our February Black History Month podcast. And we're gonna be our guest gonna be our no no not we're not gonna have a guest. Our lead host will be that night, Mr. Perry Busby, and
Hey,
we're going to be
your
talking
mama,
about.
your grandmama, and big mama, Pee Wee and Nut Nut. We gonna go
Oh
next
boy,
Hey,
week.
and I hope they ain't got their uncomfortable shoes on.
Black History Month,
Baby, I
guys, at
hope they
Analysis Power
ready. I'm not
Podcast
gonna have
Live.
any cocktails that day.
Yeah, so
Please.
please join us Sunday at 7 o'clock on the Analysis Power Podcast Live, and also join us on our uh, podcast page and our Black Culture page. So we really trying to educate ourselves and others of our
Uh,
rich heritage and history.
oh, Tony.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed or if you saw it, but I did post it. Um, I know in our zeal to post our history, we got to be careful and vet the information that's being shared because there's a Black history fact that is misinformation that is going viral, and that is the information about the black lawn jockey.
Right.
That is misinformation. It was talked about several years ago, and now all of a sudden it has gone viral and being shared along with all of the other. And so I'm just saying we need to be as fervent about our history. And I know that we want to, but we got to be careful.
Right. And I had that post up on the Black Culture page, um, and it was flagged.
Mm-hmm.
I've read some articles
Mm-hmm.
that said it was for the Underground Railroad signals.
Yeah.
Then I read that it was from a young black um, guardsman who guarded the flag, had the flag, and he doing I can't think which war it was, and he died with that flag in his hand. Yeah, and that's what it was named after. Uh, there was honor in his name. I cannot think his name, but that's what it was about.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to. I got to be very. I have to be very careful because every article that comes across, I read it and proofread it, and then I go and look at it. But I saw that this is not the first time I post that. I posted several times. It's never been flagged, but now it's been flagged. So I guess it's not.
Yeah, well, it's just been raised to the consciousness. I mean, and so again, that's why we have to question Facebook. I mean, Facebook, if you all know and knew that it was false, why are you letting the algorithms continue to send something false? You know.
That's it. Well, guys, thank you again. Thank you, Captain McClendon. Thank you, Mary Williams.
Everybody's welcome.
Thank you,
It's an honor and a pleasure.
Terry Roy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perry Busby from Plantation, Florida. and and my good and the lead person tonight, the lead host tonight, Unc Chris Jones, you did well, sir. And my co-host is Donna Haywood. She's been working on the polls, and working on the flags, and working on those. What polls you been working on?
Baby, I'm working all the polls. I'm going everywhere.
All the polls.
All the polls.
Okay, all the polls.
Oh, not that poll.
No, I'm just playing. No, I've been at Theodore Johns. I've been at Elmo Willard. I've been at Rogers Park. Somebody called me out though. They was like, LaDonna, I voted at the courthouse and you didn't come take my picture. So I'm going to the courthouse next week too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where majority of the people in my neighborhood are going is to the Jefferson County Courthouse.
Yeah, somebody. It was a judge though, believe it or not. He was like, "You didn't take my picture." But anyway, I was like, "Okay, don't play with me."
But wait, I will say, LaDonna Sherwood hit me up yesterday, if not today. I don't see that sticker or that receipt, and I was like, "I'm sorry, my bad, my apologies."
That don't mean she called me
too. It's a habit. I'm an election day voter. It's always been habit. I'm an election
Let me
day
tell
voter.
you, I reached out to 200 people yesterday, between yesterday and the day before. So you can look for me to be in your inbox. I told them, they thought I was playing.
I voted the first
You know,
day, so
you need to make that a campaign. We need to be accountable to each other.
that's right.
Correct.
For real.
Right. Hey, listen.
For real.
We gotta,
For real. They gonna tell you. People they look, when I hit the inbox, I be on their phone. I already know. Yes, I'm on your phone. Yes,
Hey,
I'm in your inbox.
that's how Joe used to be. That's how Joe Stevens used to be.
Yeah.
That's how Joe Stevenson used to be.
Hey, guys.
Joe would pull a book out on you if you.
That's
Well,
right.
yeah, Joe,
That's
I
right.
voted. Joe would be like, "You sure you voted?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
voted.
Yeah,
I'm talking about accountability at its finest.
I call on Joe Dano. Book him, Dano.
Let me tell you, you know what? He used to get up at the gas station coming from the club, pull you over, get out. Let me see that you vote.
Hey guys, I want y'all to stay on, and not our guests. Y'all can leave, but I like the crew to stay on. And we're about to close the show. It's something I need to go over with you guys for a quick second. It won't take but 1 minute. If y'all just hold on with me for 1 minute, and we're going to close the
Good
show.
night, everybody.
All right,
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Thank you for watching Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. Be sure to like and subscribe to all Knowledge is Power social media pages.